Hi guys, Chester Westerford here. Christmas is in the air, and with the news that RTD is apparently planning to bring back the Christmas specials, although if you look in Doctor Who magazine he says that's what he's calling the festive special, he doesn't actually say Christmas, and he seems to indicate somewhere around that time. I sure hope it's Christmas Day, I want to see the Christmas specials back. But yeah, I thought with it being Christmas time, and with that, it's a fitting time to look back at the previous Christmas specials and rank them. So I'm going to, over the next 3 weekends, rank each of the Christmas specials by Doctor. So in the first video, David Tennant's Christmas specials. Here we go. Voyage of the Damned. This one is kind of a mixed bag for me. I really like the first half. The idea of a bunch of alien tourists coming to Earth to see our Christmas tradition, so to speak, and the misunderstandings from that is a really fun concept. Copied later, well, I don't know about copied, but done more recently in the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, although I think it's done a little bit better here, but maybe I'm just biased. It's just really fun. My favorite bit is when Clive Swift's Mr. Copper gives that speech about what humans do at Christmas, you know, like eating the people from Turkey and all. I just wish the special had carried more of that throughout the episode. Like, if the whole thing had been about aliens exploring Christmas and then something goes wrong and the Doctor has to fix it, I think that would have been a much more enjoyable episode for me. It might even be one of my favorites. I just think, I know the basic idea comes from the TARDIS crashing into the Titanic, and so it has to turn tragic, but that's the problem. I don't really like that concept for a Christmas special. I don't like overly tragic stories in general, and again, I know it's playing on a certain type of disaster film genre that's out there, but I don't enjoy those types of movies either. I watch a movie or a TV show to feel good and feel some sort of escapism, especially on Christmas. And I don't mind something being a little sad, but I want there to be a bit more hope in there as well. This one is just mostly tragic. And yeah, not really what I want at Christmas. I don't want to be depressed at Christmas. You know, like, it makes you depressed not only about this story, but also about the real tragedy that happened with the Titanic. And, you know, I've just opened my presents, I've had dinner, I've had a good Christmas day, and then I sit down and watch a bunch of people die. That's not Christmas. I want fun and joy and a bit more silliness. Maybe if this had been a regular episode instead of a Christmas special, maybe I would have enjoyed it a little more. It's got some good moments, but yeah, I'm sorry, it's at the bottom of the list for me. The Runaway Bride. Okay, so I'm gonna be honest, when I first saw this one, I really didn't like it that much. I've changed my opinion a bit now, and while I don't think it will ever be one of my favorites, I can enjoy it for what it is. I think it was a combination at the time of finding Catherine Tate's initial performance as Donna to be a bit too much overkill for my taste, mixed with the endings having some RTD-isms I wasn't too fond of at the time, particularly with his portrayal of the Doctor as this overly powerful, terrible figure that had to be stopped by his companions from going too far. I look back at it a bit better now, realizing what he was trying to do with the emotional fallout from the Time War and all. It makes sense. I think I just prefer when the Doctor's an aimless wanderer who gets mixed up in all sorts of adventures. And I guess to be fair, he kind of was through most of this. Just that ending with the Doctor standing under the water falling and Donna going, "Oh, you can stop now!" And, you know, the Arachnos Empress crying about her children. It just was a bit too much for me. Also, another one about this one is it just doesn't feel Christmassy. It takes place at Christmas, and it has a star at the end, but beyond that, it really could have taken place literally at any time. And personally, I kind of want my Christmas specials to have a little more Christmas in them. I don't want to sound completely down on it, though. It does have some good moments. I really like that car chase with the TARDIS. It was a very inventive way to use it, especially at the time, and I like how unique and fun it is. The makeup on Sarah Parrish was extremely well done for the Arachnos Empress. Overall, not one of my favorites, but I wouldn't put it at the bottom of any list either. The End of Time, Parts 1 and 2. Yeah, I'm gonna group these two together. I know Part 2 is technically a New Year's special, but I don't like ranking one part of a two-parter by itself. This one feels a bit hard to rank anyway, since it's barely a Christmas special. Christmas isn't the focus at all. The focus is the upcoming regeneration, which is as it should be. Yeah, I really like this story. It's mostly spectacle, but I don't think there's anything wrong with a bit of spectacle. And personally, I think it was a good end to the Tennant RTD reign. except for the tantrum at the end. I've never been a big fan of that, but seeing the Time Lords at the end of part 1 was a punch the air moment for the teenage fan like me that I was. It also has those really great moments between Wilf and Ten, and I like John Sims' Master. I know he goes a bit more crazy in this, but I think he does well with, the script he's given. And I also think I just have a lot of nostalgia for this story. It was kind of a really special time because it was kind of at the height of my fandom and also unusual at the time in that it aired in the US the day after the UK broadcast, which was new since, previous series we had to wait like months for it to be broadcast on Sci-Fi, and since I didn't have cable, I had to wait even longer for the DVDs to come out. But at this time I also discovered buying things digitally on iTunes, so it was the first time I was actually felt like I was participating in what was going on with the show concurrently, if that makes sense. Like I got to see it a few days after it aired, not months after it aired. And of course it was also the first time I saw Doctor Who in HD, and yeah, it was just a really special time, so that might contribute to my enjoyment of it. I don't know, it's just for some reason I always really liked this one. It just goes down a little more on the list because it's not really that much connected with Christmas. The Christmas Invasion, the first ever Christmas special. Unless you count the Feast of Stephen, of course. While not perfect, I put this one so high on the list just because of how Christmassy it is. I love how it never lets you forget it's a Christmas episode. Robot Santas, killer Christmas trees. It's great, that's what I want from a Christmas episode. Christmas! I also think it does a really good job of introducing David Tennant to a new audience who maybe don't expect the lead character to change all of a sudden. He's in bed for much of it, but that gives people time to watch the other characters they've grown to like come to accept him, and maybe that helped some other new viewers with that as well. I also feel like the little bits we do see of him are just strange and humorous enough to help people come to like the character slowly over time, and that helps to build up to when he does finally emerge from the TARDIS at the end. Feels like a triumphant moment, and the viewer is cheering him on as he saves the day. It's a very simple story. It's not overly complex or filled with too much over emotion and stuff. It's fun, and that's what I want from a Christmas episode. Just fun, Christmassy stuff. And yeah, this is a good one. The Next Doctor. Okay, I've decided to put this at the top because, as I've said before, I want a Christmas special to feel fun and Christmassy, and to me, this one is pretty much that. I think it may be the most Christmassy out of all of them. The Victorian setting, all the snow, it just feels so Christmassy. Even the Doctor agreeing to go have dinner at the end. Like, that's just so... It's Christmas. It's Christmas. It's not a perfect story. The gimmick of the Next Doctor turns out to be no more than that. A gimmick. And the ending is a bit quick and convenient, but I don't mind that. I think these specials are at their best when they're just kind of simple, fun fluff to enjoy after you have opened your presents and had Christmas dinner. And this one is scary and emotional, but it's not overly so like Voyage of the Damned, which, like I said, just makes me feel depressed. I also like I say, the Victorian setting. It adds to the Christmasness, and it's also just a really cool era to visit overall. I always like it when they go there, and I hope the show goes there more in the future. I also think the Cybermen are, it's a pretty good Cyberman story, as Cyberman stories go. They haven't always had good stories, especially in the new series, but I think this is a decent story for them, and I really like Dervla Kerwin as Miss Hartigan. I think she's a pretty good villain. I like the comedy with the screwdriver, the sonic screwdriver that's just a screwdriver, and the TARDIS that's a hot air balloon. I thought that stuff was kind of cool. I think the idea of someone thinking they're the Doctor is kind of an interesting concept, and I think it was also kind of cool to see all the previous Doctors in there, the classic ones, especially at a time when there weren't a whole lot of connections to the classic era. It was always nice to see classic era connections in those days. But what do you guys think of my list? How would you rank the Tennant Christmas specials? Do you hope as much as I do that the Christmas specials are coming back? I mean, it still seems a bit up in the air with RTD wrote in Doctor Who magazine. He said Christmas special, and then he clarified that's just what I'm calling the festive special. So that makes me worried that maybe it will be more like New Year's again. I don't know. Do you want to see the Christmas specials back? Do you prefer the New Year specials? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.